I know you're anti-co-founder, but you came with me. We're co-founders. So I need to know the details. What in the world? Why? Why would you have said yes to me?
Yes to you and no to everyone else. Great question. I really think part of it is that we are so values aligned. And I know that we're putting our community first and our values first. So if something were to create tension, I feel like we're both in a place to either say, well, then we I don't see it being messy. I see us both being so passionate about the mission, vision, values that we could walk away or buy each other out and be very cordial. Like I would be very professional about it.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's really intuitive to have seen when we were at South by Southwest last year. The number one question in the room was somewhat related to a co-founder in some regard. And it was really eye-opening for Katrina and I because we're not co-founders, we're just co-hosts here. So we don't have that same tension. So it's an honor. Thank you.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Managed Chaos Podcast, where we give you the startup business rundown in less time than it takes for you to get to work. I'm Rachel Anderson, and today we have the incredible Raven O'Neill talking to us about the real nitty-gritty of being a startup founder. Now, Raven is a 5 times founder, podcaster, and business champion for all kinds of people and business. She has helped facilitate more than $100 million in business growth funding and advised over 250 founders. But my favorite thing about her is that she's my co-conspirator and co-founder of Startup Women NC. Truly, she's a champion, an incredible partner, helping women win on their own terms. And Raven, I'm so excited we get to have this conversation today. Welcome to the Managed Chaos Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to dive in.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because you sometimes fly under the radar with the wealth of experience and information that you have. And when I found out about this, I was like, how did I not know? I mean, even I feel like it took me too long to realize.
Thank you. I've been hearing that a lot lately from a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's time. I like it. A little self-promotion. Because you have so much, like we already said, it's over $100 million in business growth funding and 250 founders. I mean, you and I were talking right before, you said even that number is growing, but at some point you just stop counting. But that means that there's so many different versions of startup life that you've seen and so many different ways to sort of skin the proverbial cat. So as we dive into the nitty gritty, I want to know what your number one thing is, just off the bat. What's the number one thing that you think startup leaders really need to know in order to be successful?
I mean, first of all, not necessarily that they need to know, but the number one thing they're going to need is funding. So for anyone tuning in, fund founders, especially female founders, fund women in business, put money down, support in that manner. In regards to what founders need, I think, first of all, I've got a million answers. I would say putting up there at one of the number one spots is your mental health. Like your mental health has to be one of your primary. Take care of yourself. You're going to burn out. You're not going to enjoy the ride. There's always going to be struggles. So there are always going to be parts you're not going to enjoy, but prioritize your mental health. It's probably my number one.
I think that's so smart. I mean, really, like growth starts with where your brain is at. And that is literal revenue. And it's also personal growth and it's team growth, like all the areas. And it's so much harder to go the distance when that's struggling.
And that it goes hand in hand with the funding too, right? If you're struggling to pay yourself, to take care of yourself, it's going to trickle down everywhere. So again, you're going to need funding and you're going to need to prioritize your mental health. And again, fund women founders.
Yes, I definitely agree. As both a woman and a founder, I would love that. My number's below. Okay, just kidding. But yeah, so with funding, like that's such an incredibly important step for founders. And I think, to be frank, like I really want to contextualize this particular 15 minutes, right? Like that's not enough time to even feel like we've scratched the surface on what brings you to the ask. Just as a slight plug, we have other episodes about how to pitch, how to collect, what are you looking for, how do you know when and where. So definitely go look at other episodes. But when you're talking about funding specifically, what is the benefit to the founder once they secure funding of some sort, assuming that they decide to actually go talk to investors and it's not just a slow growth?
Well, I mean, ideally, the first part of funding is it alleviates the stress of if you're self-funding and the stress of doing a majority of it alone. If you're lucky, people have volunteered on equity based on equity to hop in and help, something like that. But if there's no money, you're not paying yourself, you are going to be either self-funding it initially or struggling to stay afloat. And it goes back to that mental health piece.
Yeah, absolutely. So what are other ways? Let's say funding is just not an option and the founder has decided, like, I'm just going to struggle through right now, right? Like I'm trying to prioritize my mental health. I'm trying to get to a place where funding is a little bit more consistent. We're on that uphill climb. What are things they can do or people that they can look for that can help them with that?
I mean, we run a community for women. So obviously community is a big part of it. I do want to say before that, if you're out there, you're struggling where to start, you're not even sure what that looks like, there are a lot of programs funded by your tax dollars. So go check out the SBDC. That's the Small Business Development Center funded by the SBA. Go check that out. That's a great starting place. They should be able to recommend other communities that will help you get to your next step. We are one of those communities. So you and I run a community for women in start.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because, well, a couple things. One, the SBDC. I always get messed up with the letters, but I actually contacted them myself a couple weeks ago based on your recommendation. And I was a little nervous because it's the first time I had almost like formally asked for advice in that way outside of my own tried and true network, kind of showing, the man behind the curtain, right? Oz is just a man, I said that earlier this week on my LinkedIn. But anyway, giving them the inside view and my experience with doing that in the past, which is why I'm very hesitant to do it, has not been positive. There's a lot of people that feel like because you come to them with a vulnerable thing, they don't have to be sensitive back, like you almost forget what it's like as a business owner to be like, here's my naked baby. Can you tell me he's pretty? Right? Like, do you like it? And they were so, so kind, super encouraging, really knowledgeable. I met with one individual and he had years and years of experience. So I love being able to tap into communities, whether nationally or locally, that can really provide that support. I think, it's hard to go by yourself. What's that phrase that they say? If you want to go fast, do it alone. If you want to go far, do it by yourself. No, do it in community. Is that right?
I'm not sure. I don't know that one.
I don't know. I'm sure somebody will be like, oh yeah, this thing. But yeah, so anyway, I love the value of community, which is why we decided to do that. But I think even having and assembling your own board, even if it's informal, is such an important part too of knowing that you're on the right track.
Yeah. For the women tuning in, well, it's not even women. You know what? Scratch that. I run a podcast. You had mentioned that. And one of the things that was pulled together out of that more recently is that you should also have a personal board of directors. So create a board for your business, a board of advisors, your very specific board, also a personal board of advisors. Some people, I was going to say some people who know you well enough, but not close enough to be able to advise you on the different aspects of your life while you're building.
I really like that. Yeah. Because I'm in a season right now where business is all consuming. I mean, literally business is life. And not in the good way where like, Ted Lasso is like football is life, right? Like not in that good way, in the way where it's like my whole existence feels business. I saw you raise your hand. So yeah, you too. And so having people that are looking out for your non-business interests, I can't tell you how valuable that's been when they're basically like, what are you doing? Do less. What are you doing? You need to go take a break. What are you doing? Like that like gut check when I silence my gut too much.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get out of that kind of overwhelm. Like, I feel like it's so common. We don't talk about it, I think, in its serious depth. Like, I think people really like to have the good answer, like, how's it going? Good. But they don't want to sink into the mire. And so what do you, either personal experience or like, what have you seen successful in other founders you worked with to build them out of the mire, or pull them out into maybe not good, but like better?
So I did say mental health in the beginning, which I think is imperative, but I'm going to give an opposite answer of that, and highly provocative, I would say, which is when you're prioritizing and managing your chaos and
Mhm.
doing all of that, one thing you have to start to look at is all the things you need to do and prioritize it based on what's going to bring in money the quickest. Because if you are stressed and stretched for cash, you are going to be drinking from the fire hose, treading water, doing all those things, and getting cash in the door is probably going to be one of the easiest ways to reduce your stress. So do that to-do list. What brings in quick cash? What brings it in the fastest? What's going to return on investment? And start putting your to-do list together like that. That's a provocative answer because a lot of people are like, but it's not all it's not all about money. Being in business is all about money.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting being 10 years into my business, about 3 years now since I did a big pivot and kind of went more seriously into trying to build and grow. And I look at things that get offered on like into my feed in social media of people promoting products or like being a founder or these different things. And it's almost like a kid. Like, this is a great example. I was with my friends the other day and they have a 4-year-old, and he looked at me. He was like, "I'm faster than daddy." And I was like, "Oh, are you?" He goes, "I'm not stronger, but I'm faster." And I was like, sure. And that's kind of how it feels sometimes on social media when people are like, "Oh my gosh, make $100 a week or a day," or like, "This one bulletproof sentence is going to like let you quit your job." And it's it's an interesting dichotomy of what we wish to be true as founders and the reality.
And I say that on social media and in my emails all the time, that usually they're selling someone else's service or product or service. They're lying to you. They're not being transparent in the whole story. Anything that says do it this way to get X, Y, and Z quick is probably not a good idea.
Good idea. So if we have so much prolification of nonsense, I'm going to call it, for the lack, I mean, I'm sure that some things work sometimes for some people. So yeah, yada, yada. But like, if we have so much of this that is noise, what can founders do to cut through that and show authenticity and the reality of where they're at and what they need from a customer?
I would say it goes back to community again. We have a community, and I am very transparent online in my own endeavors, but also in the group about the challenges. Look, I meet hundreds of founders. I don't know a single founder that isn't questioning what they're doing, that isn't like, maybe I should get a part-time job. Maybe I should go back to corporate. Those are all experiences you're going to have in startup, in being in business, in especially the early days. There was a blog post way back in the day, and I loved it. It's been taken down, but she had talked about her journey, and she said every founder leaves corporate, does whatever they do, and they've got glitter shooting out of their eyeballs on that journey. And then a month in, 3 months in, they're on the floor crying, drinking a bottle of wine, thinking, how are they going to pay for the next bottle of wine? It couldn't be truer.
Yeah, 100%. It makes me think of that GIF from How I Met Your Mother where Robin Scherbatsky is like drinking a wine in a bowl under her desk, just like crying. I'm like, that is so relatable.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well, we're wrapping up a little bit. I like your edgy takes. So I personally, I don't know if this says where my mental state is, but like they didn't feel that edgy to me. So I don't know if maybe I'm like getting moved to the dark side here, but you on your podcast, which is amazing. I'm going to do my own non-solicited plug. I love listening to it. But on your podcast at the end, you always ask for a hack.
Mhm.
And so I'm going to turn the tables on you.
Ooh.
And as part of the Managed Chaos brand, you've spent all these years working in startups. We've talked about kind of memberships and information sources, and funding is a real central part to building your business and needing to focus on that, or at least having a plan for that. But it's always just chaos. It does, like, I don't know any founder that isn't like, yeah, it's chaos. So, what is your hack for startup leaders in how to deal with or know how to deal with the chaos?
Okay. How to know or deal with the chaos as a startup founder.
Mhm.
First of all, know that it is always going to, shouldn't speak in, what is that called? Lost for words, but
Mhm, mhm.
not always.
Always.
Most times, especially in the early days, it's going to be chaos. So know that you're in chaos, accept it, and know that you're in good company.
Mm.
A hack, I just think that you need to get clear on your goals, prioritize getting money in the door, and seek out support, whether that is a board of advisors, a personal board of advisors, a community, the SBDC. Get help. You don't have to do it alone. There is so much out there, but there's so much out there, it's going to be overwhelming. So I just spat out a bunch, choose one, and run with it.
And as you said earlier, don't do it alone, but that doesn't mean you have to have a co-founder.
Correct.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I always love talking to you, and I feel like the wisdom you have, especially in this like startup founder nitty-gritty moment, is so helpful. If people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Head over to LinkedIn. It's /Raven R. O'Neill, or hit me up on my email, raven@ravenoneal.com. It's
Perfect.
probably the best. I'm
I
on
love
all the socials. Just find me. I think you can even Google it at this point because the podcast pops up, and I think there's contact there too.
That's perfect. Oh, and as always, we'll also put your information down below. But thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Managed Chaos Podcast. We are on our way to 100 YouTube subscribers. Our original goal was like 5,000 or something like that. And so, you know what? I'm going to take it. Go over to YouTube, give us a subscribe, find us on Instagram, or just stick around and listen to another episode of the Managed Chaos Podcast.
Thank you for having me.